Welcome back to part 12 of setting up the Power Platform Centre of Excellence. In this video, we're going to discuss the quarantine components. So this is basically the principle of quarantining an app that doesn't meet certain requirements, and it will present basically users who launch a quarantined app with a message indicating that they're unable to access the app because it's been quarantined. As per Microsoft documentation, which again I'll reference in the description, this feature is currently only available for Canvas apps. So, like with a lot of these Power Platform Centre of Excellence components, there are a series of environment variables that will control values, such as a big one for this is quarantine apps after a specified number of days of non-compliance. So the default value is 7. If you wanted to tweak that, you come into your environment where you've installed the Centre of Excellence core components. You would launch and play your Command Center admin app. You would come down to Setup in the left-hand navigation. We're going to quickly find all of the quarantine ones by just starting to type the word quarantine. And here we have our quarantine apps after X number of days of non-compliance. So this app is being helpful because you'll notice that not only do we have the option to save, but we also have the option to reset flows. So I'm going to choose a value of 10 just to be different from the default. We can see that it's successfully taken the value, and I'm also going to do reset flows. Although I'm not, because it's just given me an error. So just for the sake of this video, I'm not going to troubleshoot that specific error of doing this via the Command Center app, but we will now move on to the flows in question. The critical point here is that when you start a flow that makes use of an environment variable, it uses the value at the point in which the flow was started. So therefore, if you change the value since it's been turned on and started, you'll want to reset that flow, basically turn it off and on for it to pick up the new value, basically. So for the flows, in fact, before we move on to the flows, the next element of this is that because of the nature of this, there may be certain well-managed, as Microsoft would call it, environments where you don't want apps to be quarantined. Because as you can imagine, if an app did fall into the quarantine bucket, it could become problematic depending on the app. So I believe, let's take a look. So we'll look at our Centre of Excellence. And because we've only really got apps in this environment that are for the Centre of Excellence purpose, we don't want that to be hindered by them being quarantined. So with an environment selected, you'll see here that there's excuse from app quarantine flow. So by default, because of the nature of what the quarantine will do, everything is exempt. So to make it not exempt, rather than a lot of the other ones where you would go from no to yes, you would go from yes to no. So for example, I want to leave the Centre of Excellence environment excused from quarantining, whereas for example, let's say our personal productivity environment, I am going to include this. So I'll just come to excuse from app quarantine flow, and I will set that to no. So basically saying it's not excused, and we'll save it. Now moving on to the flows. I believe these flows are part of the governance components. So we'll want to make sure that we're in that solution rather than the core component solution. And the flows in question are admin pipe quarantine non-compliant apps. So let's just have a look and see if that's turned on. Have to forgive me, it's a Monday and my fingers are just warming up. Okay, so that's turned on. That would be fine. Again, going back to our earlier point, I'm going to turn it off and on again, just to give it more of a chance of picking up the new environment variable value, assuming it is used in that one. As the second one, probably would have been better off just searching for the word quarantine. And we can see here we've got the set app quarantine status. So that one is turned off. So we'll turn that one on. We'll just make sure it's successful and just ensure that we don't need to troubleshoot anything. But no, that's turned on successfully. So in a nutshell, that is basically it. Again, once we've configured all of the Power Platform Center of Excellence, we'll walk through. And when we come to the quarantine components, we'll basically ensure that an app is detected as needing to be quarantined, just so we can see how that would actually look. Okay, thank you for watching. In the next video, we're going to discuss collecting audit log data. Thank you for watching.